This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast, where we are here to help you be happy, healthy, wealthy, and get better every single day. The guest I'm bringing on today is absolutely going to lend to that. I have heard nothing but amazing things. He told me the guy lied. I don't know about all that. He seems like a pretty good dude. Brandon Steiner is a highly successful serial entrepreneur, author, and motivational speaker known for his expertise in sports marketing, memorabilia, and personal branding. He is the founder and president of the Steiner Agency and Collectible Exchange. Brandon has spoken at prestigious events and is a regular media presence. And he has authored several books on leadership and entrepreneur. With vast experience and adaptability, he now shares his insights to help aspiring entrepreneurs build their own empires. Absolutely love that, brother. How you doing?
I'm fabulous. Thanks for having me on. Healthy, wealthy. Healthy is the main thing. You can't focus enough on health, but also, you can't focus enough on safety, making sure you're safe. These days with so much craziness going on and driving safe, as you get older, you see so many crazy things happen. But what's funny is like I've had a lot of luck, success, whatever. But the thing that people talk most about is like when I've fallen on my face and cracked my head open. That seems to get a crowd, and that seems to be more interesting than some of my successes. But listen. I lead the league. You couldn't fill I-95 up with all my failures. So there's always an hour's worth of that conversation or whatever you want to talk about. But the reason I bring it up is it's the road to wealth. It's the road to success. And that is, failing. I think where people make a big mistake is they think that failing is the opposite of winning. And it's actually a big part of winning. What I don't like is when I hear people say, don't be afraid to fail. I mean, shit, I'm afraid to fail. Are you kidding? What I say is don't be afraid to try just because you failed. Like, of course you're going to be afraid to fail. I mean, I wake up every morning still, nervous and afraid. And some of that drives me. Some of that I probably can get under control a little better, to be honest with you. But I'm not afraid to try. I never have been. And I think that's really that's the gas and the high premium gas that I use to get to where I'm going every day, still to this day. But don't be afraid to fail. Like, oh my God, of course you're going to be afraid to fail. And use that nervousness in a positive way that can help. But don't let the past dictate your future. Just because something happened a couple of years ago, and it didn't work out well, it has nothing to do with what you're about to try. And that's when the mental mindset just completely takes over.
Yeah, it's true, because nobody wants to fail. Nobody's like, yes, I want to get out there and I want to absolutely fall on my face. That's not the goal. But one of the things you said, and I'm 45, Brandon, as I've gotten older and I continue to be more of a seasoned veteran of life, I realized the one thing I don't want to look back on, I don't want to regret, man, that I didn't go for it. That is the one thing that I think always pushes me to say, to your point, I'm going to go try, because I don't want to look back on my deathbed. I'm sitting there at whatever age that is and go, I didn't give it my best shot. I can at least say I gave it everything I have. Now, I've fallen on my face all the time, but is that kind of your perspective as well, that I'm just going to go out and try, or where did you learn this from?
No, that's not my perspective at all. And I hear you, and I respect that thinking, because it's common that a lot of people think that, but it really puts a lot of pressure on you, because the real question is, how do you get in the mindset to go try? How do you get in the mindset to go put yourself out there? And I think what happens is a lot of people struggle with it, and that's why they don't try. It's not because they don't want to try. They can't get their head right and wrapped around what that takes. And I think there's a couple of key ingredients that I use to get going when I'm trying to put myself in a position to try. First of all, it's okay to dream big, sample small, fail quick. That's first of all. Like, you don't have to go for the home run. It's a big mistake, because when you don't come back rounding the bases, now disappointment sets in, shame, you're embarrassed. That's the first thing. The second thing is, as a leader, focus on the things that are in front of you, which is fix what's broken. Concentrate on something that's broken that needs help, because you can't go wrong. It's broken, can't fall off the floor. So if you're trying to fix it, that's a real plus, and they can build some confidence because you at least made it better. Or take what's working well and make it better. I always tell leadership is about two things: fix what's broken, take what you're already doing well, make it better. But to get in the right mindset, it's not easy, which is the point, which is why stop going for the big home run, although you could dream the big home run. But what I try to do is I try to get into a really curious state. Just get curious. Start asking questions. And enthusiasm, by the way, is a big common denominator with curiosity. Curiosity times enthusiasm will get you to trying. So when you're enthusiastic, like you remember when you were 10, you were enthusiastic, you were curious, you were asking a million questions. You thought you could be the next shortstop for the Yankees. You thought you could be the next president, whatever it is you thought. And you started asking questions, you were enthusiastic and said, hey, I think I got a shot. And, enthusiastic, the root word of enthusiasm is enthusios, which is to be with God. So as part of this, not to get all spiritual about it, but you need faith. Part of the deal is to get in the right mindset. It's that faith that you were put here for good reason and to do good. And you have every opportunity to do so. Why wouldn't you? Why would God or somebody in a higher power put you on this planet to fail or to not do anything? Matter of fact, he put you on this planet for two reasons. Don't make it overcomplicated. You're only here for two reasons. One, to help others. So when you're struggling and you're not really able to push yourself into something new, try something new, go help somebody. That's juice. And then the other reason is to get better. We're the only species, that can get better and deal with adverse, incredibly difficult situations and overcome them. If you look at the lion, the bear, the tiger, the bug, the roach, the mice, the rats, birds, name them, not one of those species, not one, can get better. But the human species can get better and continues to get better, which is why we're here. And you think about the lottery that we won just by being born into the human race, as opposed to all these other particular species that we could have been born in. So if you're not getting better for your family, for you, get better by the distinction of saying, hey, I can't blow this opportunity that I've been born and put on this planet. So, and again, you don't have to hit a home run, just get a little better today. Now, you'll never wake up and watch your dog go down. Oh, your dog is feeding itself, walked itself, it's reading the New York Times. It's never going to happen. A goldfish doing backflips, backstrokes, never going to happen. But you can do a little better by being enthusiastic, by being curious, picking up a book, reading, and just trying to find out a little bit more in what you do. And that's the key. I'm like the worst student, struggle to get out of school, barely got into college, but I was curious. I tried learning about different things, and there's nothing better than when you find somebody that's really good at what they do and asking a lot of questions about how they did it. So if you're in a particular category, figure out who's the best at it and somehow reach out to that person that's better than you and ask them how they did it. And don't copy their result, copy their process. Ask them about the nitty gritty. What do you do? What do you do when you wake up? How'd you learn all this? How'd you put it into play? And then steal those ideas. I always say, R&D, rip off and duplicate. That's my R&D. I'm sorry I went on a little rant. I get crazy on a Thursday, man. Jeez, I'm all fired up today, man.
Brother, I'm just trying to capture all the notes. You have so many one-liners. I don't even know where to take this because you took me so many amazing directions. And let me just say, so I have a formula. Okay. I believe that you can accomplish anything with the 3 G's. And I want to throw this at you. I want to see for you if this sticks. And I'm cool if it doesn't, but this has been my formula. I believe you can accomplish anything you want, having a growth mindset with grit and having gratitude. So I'm going to pose that to you. You went through a lot there. And I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, oh man, that's good. That's gold. But my 3 G's is what I can attack anything with growth mindset, grit, and gratitude. Does that land for you, brother, or is there something I'm missing?
It does. I think the grid is always difficult. I think some people struggle with that word understanding. That's such a wide word, but I think growth and gratitude is a must. It's right spot on. And I always say, if you want to be happy, or if you're lacking happiness, happiness resides on the crossroads of growth and gratitude. If you're not growing and you don't have a high level or continual gratitude, you're probably not much of a happy person. So people keep thinking it's like, if I had more money, or if I had this, no. What you need to do is be grateful for what you have. What you need to do is think about how you can grow. And some of that's with money, some of that's at your job, some of that's been being a better husband or wife, being a better son. There's so many different ways to grow. And I think sometimes people get very in a narrow funnel, but I think you hit it spot on. I think if you could add the spice of the grit, the grind into it, which comes a little bit kind of with enthusiasm, really, and energy is another way of putting it. Like, just increase your energy and enthusiasm, which means increase your faith, and think about like what you're eating, you're sleeping. Like, those are the things that most people don't think about. Like, how can I make more money? Hey, how's your sleep? How's your energy? How's your eating? And I'm not talking about weight. I'm like, going to sleep at the same time every night, getting the same amount of sleep, the right amount of sleep is big. Eating the right amount of stuff. Like, I haven't had sugar like in a month, not by choice, but like, if you can't go on a diet, get sick. I mean, I got sick. Like, I can't eat a bunch of stuff, so I've lost weight. But it's like, that's not what you hope for. Hopefully you can be disciplined, but eating really well and sleeping really well will add to your energy and probably prompt enthusiasm. Add in a little faith. Now, faith is what you're hoping for. It's important for people to realize that most of the things you have faith in, you can't always see, but you have belief that it's there. It's going to come. And I tell you, faith has really pulled me out of a lot of bad fires and situations that we all go through. And I use faith and I use prayer and I use just meditation and time just to think about it, because sometimes there is no direct straight line, which is what I'd love to tell your audience, that you may be stuck and maybe there isn't a complete straight line. Yeah, you want to put more enthusiasm and growth, but you don't know what to do. And what I say is dream. Have some faith that, if you could be it, if you could see it, you could be it. That's why I love the dreaming. I like the faith because sometimes you can't quite see it, but you got to believe that it's there. And for me, that's how it's worked. I mean, I've had some really down times, like growing up. 4 years ago, I got fired from the company I created. Most people know, from Steiner. It was a great company I created. Like, I was really bummed. I didn't see it coming. I was in the middle of buying it back and I had a hostile takeover. But, at the end of the day, I relied on faith. Like, there's something better here for me. I'm doing better now than I ever have, which if you talked to me 3 years ago, I'm like one step away from a freaking loony bin, going to some psych ward. I didn't know what to do. Because sometimes your head does spin around and you don't always see things straight. And you have to rely on faith, health, keeping yourself kind of straight and narrow with gratitude. Wow, what a run I had. It's epic. But that run's over. God has something else been planned for me. I got to believe that. And at the lowest point, when I say you can't fall off the floor, I'm on the floor. Getting out of bed in the morning was success for me. On many days, I couldn't get out of bed. I was just I couldn't believe what happened. And I rely on faith. I rely on, getting up. I would say take action over activity. Get up, work out, go for a walk, move. It's such an important aspect of success. But I do agree with you. Growth and gratitude, critical components. And then, the grind or the enthusiasm, very, very important. And I think if you concentrate on those three things, it will take you from point A to B. I can almost guarantee it. So I think you're right on track with that, the 3 Gs.
So I want to take you back, and this is, you said, man, Steiner Agency, literally your last name, and you were no longer welcome there, right, at the time. This is, I'm trying to put the audience in your shoes for a moment, because this is something where it's not easy, and you're definitely in, I would guess, a valley. It's maybe dark. You're not feeling great about it. And one of the things I heard recently, and I love this, rejection is God's protection. Now, again, not making this a faith-based thing, a spiritual or a God-based theme, but rejection is God's protection. every time something negative happens, do you find that something amazing was meant to be or comes along if you look for it, if you're open to it? Because that's how I feel, man. It's like I've got my ass kicked too. I've absolutely had where I could wear the victim hat, and again, I've been removed, or somebody stole money, or whatever the scenario is. But in the moment, it's not like, yes, thank you for stealing the Steiner agency from me, not stealing, but removing me from my own company. I can't imagine you're like, thank you. But I'm guessing some amazing things came from that, even though that was a really hard time.
Well, with Steiner Sports Market and it got stolen, I started the Steiner Agency Collectible Exchange. That's the new reboot. I always say when something bad happens to you, there's two things that happen: lessons and blessings. Now, I knew the minute when I started Steiner Sports with $4,000, built it from the ground up. I pretty much built the collectible category into a lot of what you see today. I mean, and I'm very grateful, and I'm very grateful to have had that opportunity to do that. Because as growing up, I always wanted to be not successful. I always wanted to do really well. No, I wanted to be the only. I wanted to do something that was impactful, that was like nobody ever even thought of. So what a blessing to be able to fulfill that dream. But I think sometimes God blows things up in order to make room for something else, because you're so stubborn. It was so hard to leave that company, which I kind of felt like, even though it was my company, I'd been bought out. So it wasn't like I didn't own it. I was trying to buy it back, but I was bored. I had this new idea I wanted to do, and I was stuck because you get comfortable making a lot of money. They got the golden handcuffs on you, and you start getting soft. You're not thinking clearly. You lose some of your enthusiasm and curiosity, which I did. So I thank the guy that screwed me. I want to send him flowers. I thank you. And only in the last year or so, I've been able to find the gratitude for the person who outright screwed me, because I'm doing so much better. And I'm following now a whole new set of dreams that I had even before that happened. So, lessons and blessings are key. And I know it's hard. When you get punched in the face, it hurts. I mean, shit hurts, man. I mean, it's painful. When they get a good, I was in shock. I got a left, right in the gut, and then a big smack and right in the face. And it's hard. But, for me, I knew right away, even though it took me a while to get myself together, I knew right away it's going to be the best thing that's ever happened to me. I knew it. Now, the shame, the embarrassment, I feel like I let people down. I had a lot of people that worked for me for a long time. I let them down. I had to get through that. And I think that was a growing process. Brandon, where did you screw up, if at all? What could you learn from? Going back and really looking at some of the things I had done, I was like, wow, that's epic. I can't believe you did that, Brandon. And I started making notes. I said, I don't want to forget those really good things I did. So I want to replicate them and keep doing them. But Brandon, you could have been a little better on these other things. You could have been a better employer as far as maintaining, keeping talented help. You could have been better on the finance end. So I came up with a list of some things, and it was really hard. This is not my first interview. I've done a bunch of interviews back early in my days in the 90s, and I went back and watched it all. I said, I just want to see where my head was at and what I could learn from, because I want to replicate some of the mindset that I built a $50 million company with $4,000. So I recommend to people that are listening, I don't like to dwell on the past, but it's okay to take a visit and really see where your head was at, because there's a good chance of some stuff you can learn from that you were doing really well. And there's a chance that some stuff that you could see where, even though you have other people to blame, but part of it was really you. And you could have maybe done better. You could have been had a little more empathy. You could have maybe had a little more compassion, and maybe you could have done better. And, I wasn't too hard on myself, but I was open-minded to stepping outside myself, which is really key to the leaders that are watching. If you want to lead great, step outside yourself and then see yourself and see your situation as kind of an objective observer. And then you can really see the good, the bad, the ugly. Until you do that, especially if you're a boss, who's telling you suck? Who? Other than your wife. She never has that. My wife never hesitates and has a complete journal of every mistake I've ever made. In case I get a little lost, and use a little of my humility. But you know what I mean? Employees don't generally come in and tell you suck, like you blew that negotiation. So it's important to step outside yourself to see where some of those holes are so you don't make that same mistake again.
Yeah. And you said earlier, look, the past does not dictate your future. However, I'm going to go back and I'm going to own where I could have been better. I'm not playing the victim. I'm taking full responsibility for my actions, and I'm going to come out victorious in whatever endeavor I choose to do. Letting that poison out. And again, I've had two business partners that quote unquote have screwed me through the years. The first one, couple $100,000. That one really bothered me, Brandon. I mean, I was ready to, I had so much poison inside me for years, anger, just real vile stuff. And then the next one was 10 times the amount of money, but I was at a different place where I'm like, hey, I can go create something else. But it is something I think is a learned behavior, because that first one, dude, I was ready to just rip their, I mean, I was mad and so much evil and poison, but to be able to let that go has been so empowering. I love this enthusiasm and curiosity idea. And I love the fact that you're into with, I mean, sports marketing, memorabilia. You're talking to a sports guy. I just think, my God, this man has chosen what an amazing path. How did you choose this path? And was it the enthusiasm, curiosity that led you to accomplish so many amazing things?
Well, first of all, just one more thing on your comment before, and that is, when you hold on to a grudge, you hold on to some negativity. I mean, could somebody please reach out and tell me what good that does and how that helps you? I've yet to find it. And believe me, I've been guilty of it like anyone else. But, at the end of the day, if you're expecting to pitch a shutout and have a life that has no losses, no errors, you're going to pitch a perfect game. I mean, you need to get built for difficulty. You need to get built for, people screwing you. It's human nature. And you get built to deal with some of these difficult situations. It's not a secret that some of the things that life puts on you is not a cakewalk. And if you're not built for it, if you don't think that's part of the deal, then don't take all the successes so seriously either. You can't take the successes and ride to, on a Rose Bowl parade. And then when the losses come or the headaches come, then all of a sudden now you're, well, wait a minute, why is this happening to me? But the truth of the matter is, to get into this industry, I'd love to tell you a really great story, but I can't. It was a money grab. And I think sometimes things do get initiated. I just needed to make money. I just was, I was taking the train every day. We had moved up to Westchester. I'm a Brooklyn guy, man. I get on a train, I walk. I don't know about, commuting. And now I'm on the train, and, the only thing I caught was my breath. I never caught the train. My wife's like, the train doesn't wait for you. You got to get there a few minutes early. And it's just not me. So I'm on the train. This guy's got his shoes off. This lady's eating Chinese food. This other couple's arguing. They got to be getting divorced. I'm like, this is just not good. I got to get off this freaking train. So I look down. It's 1994, and this guy has the Post. And on the picture of his Mark Messier winning the Stanley Cup. Now, for some of you that are, it's my favorite. I'm a big Ranger fan. It's one of my favorite events. But also for some of that maybe not familiar with it, it's kind of like the Cubs winning the World Series. It was 54 years in waiting, drudgery. Every year something else happened. We felt like we were cursed, the whole thing. And I look down on the paper, and I'm just like, get off this train. I see Mark holding the cup with this big grin. And I wasn't in the collectible business. And I say to myself, I could sell 15,000 of those. That's how many people Madison Square Garden holds. I know that all of us were there. So many years waiting. We all want to put a picture of that with Mark Messier holding the cup, signed. We did it. Because the fans all felt like they were part of that whole run, which made it so emotional. Well, sure enough, I was so desperate. I would have done anything at that time because I didn't have the balls to go home to my wife and say, I need to get a car to drive in. I wasn't making any money. But once my mind got into a high level of non-acceptance, I always tell people, it doesn't matter where you're at. What matters is what you're willing to accept. And if you have a high level of non-acceptance, like I did that day, my mind was everywhere trying to figure out what I could do to go buy that car. And I tracked Mark down. It took me like 2 months. Finally, I got him to agree. He had never done a collectible thing before, and there was never anything done like that. And I signed him to like a 3-year contract. And we sold a lot of photos where he wrote Mark Messier, we did it. and I got my brand new car, my first brand new car ever, and I wasn't taking the train anymore. So I tell people that it's really important. I know everybody wants to start with this passion and this purpose, but sometimes, just not accepting where you're at and then figure out what you're going to do about it is a great initiator. Because what you're going to do about it is the agreement and understanding what it takes. You're 20 pounds heavy. You want to lose 20 pounds. Forget about that. First of all, come up with an agreement that you're going to lose the 20 and understand what it takes to lose the 20. Once you have agreement and understanding, it'll take you to the commitment. If you have a high level of non-acceptance, I'm not going to be this weight anymore, you'll move into agreement and understanding. And then you get into commitment. Once you are fully engaged with understanding agreement and now you're committed, there's a chance maybe passion follows. So I didn't even want to be in the collectible business. I was marketing players. I still do to this day. That's the love. And I got into agreement. I got into understanding what it was going to take to get the car. I made a commitment. I figured out how to get marked before I know, wow. And it led me to my purpose, led me to my passion. So don't start with purpose and passion. Start with agreement and understanding and ability to have non-acceptance. When you get that cooking, it's going to take you right to commitment. Once you're committed to something, think about the things you've been committed to in your life, whether it be to grow a company, maybe work a few hours less, whatever it is. Boy, it's tough to stop you, man. You're a freight train that's on its way, and it's tough to stop. And so I hope that story relates to you. And it says, look, think about something you're trying to accomplish and do. Come up with an understanding agreement about doing it. Know what it takes to do what you're trying to do. Think about the processes that are involved. And only then can you really get committed. And don't worry if it gives you chills and thrills initially. Worry more importantly, about the understanding, the non-acceptance, and they're ready to do something about it. And then the commitment pops in, and then all of a sudden, who knows? Boom. You're in a row. Again, that's the mindset. Like, how do you get in the mindset? Sometimes it's just a money grab. The biggest thing in my life started with a money grab so I could buy a car. I'd love to tell you it was something really sexy than that, but that's what it was.
No, look, I believe people will avoid pain so much more than going for whatever that prize is, right? Your pain was, this train sucks. I don't belong here. I want that car. In order to avoid that pain, I will commit. And there is a huge difference between interested and committed. You were truly committed. Like, look, tracking down Stanley Cup champion and Mark Messier to say, hey, here's my idea, let's do it. That's not an easy task. I'm sure you were told no many times. 2 years, doors closed. This is not an idea that's going to work, but you wanted to avoid the pain. Do you agree that most people will, to truly commit to something, whether it's the 20 pounds or not being on the train, avoiding that pain is so much more inspiring than trying to make $1 million or whatever the goal is? Have you seen that in your leadership through the years?
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, when you think about it, like why a lot of people don't chase that dream and don't go all the way, it's because they get themselves caught in a story that says it's not going to work out for me. Oh, this is never going to work. And they come up with a million reasons why it maybe isn't going to work. And what the kryptonite to that thought is, I'm not accepting this shit. I'm out on this. Like, I'm done with that train. I can't get on that train anymore because my day is shot after I get off the train. So that's got to be removed. And I'm going to do anything and everything it takes. And then you start moving into where you need to go. And by the way, money, it was a money grab. But it's very important. I want to clarify one thing about the money grab is that money obviously will not buy you happiness. And money is very overrated. But it will decrease your unhappiness. I just want to be clear. It isn't nothing. Like, getting rid of the train and getting in the car, it decreased my unhappiness. It wasn't the road to my unbelievable, beautiful life that I was hoping to have, but it definitely decreased a few things that were bothering the shit out of me. So, money can decrease your unhappiness. Don't rely on it for too long, because it's not what will make you happy after it removes some of the unhappiness that you may be having, which you maybe need to move into a bigger house. You want to send your kids to a nicer school. Those are all great things to aspire to want. And remove some unhappiness. Your kid's going to be fine going to regular school. Trust me. You could just get on the train every day. I would have been fine. Trust me. But you get to a high level of non-acceptance about something you want for you or your family, that's okay. But don't rely on that in the long run. That's a mistake, because it will not get you to happiness. Loving what you do, trying to be the best at what you do, growth and gratitude, being grateful for the opportunity to do it, being the opportunity that you're healthy and you have a family is more the core. That's what brings you to happiness. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I love it. I want to ask you, as an entrepreneur, often people want to be, they're like, this sounds cool, but maybe they lack clarity, drive, goals. And I'm curious, Brandon, if you were to, because you're helping so many aspiring entrepreneurs now to build their empire, what are you seeing as the winning formula for them to say, look, I'm going to make this happen. This is my dream. Is it setting goals and seeing it through? What is it? So you mentioned enthusiasm, you mentioned curiosity. I love that. But when it comes down to the tangible things that need to happen, what do you wish every entrepreneur could hear right now that you're
not
like,
going to love this answer?
All right.
But I'm going to start with this, increase your common sense. Now, people say, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, I'm trying to deliver newspapers. One of the most profound things that happened to me in my life, most people think, well, is it signing Derek Jeter for 20 years? Is it partnering with the Yankees and Notre Dame, Alabama, Chicago Red Sox? No. It happens when I'm 12 years old and I go see my mother. I tell her I want a career change. She says, you're 12 years old. What are you talking about? I said, I've been working for 2 years. I need to mix it up. She says, go get a paper route. I get the paper route, and there's a sign on the door that says, whoever wins the most boxes, whoever sells the most paper, whoever sells the most increased people to buy the paper, you win a box of candy bars. So I'm chasing down, I'm trying to get more people to sign up, and I realize I got nothing. My mother, I go home, I say, Mom, we got to move out of this neighborhood. Again, the excuses. These people are cheap, they suck. I went to the 75-year-old woman's home. She had the papers. I knew she'd get it delivered. I asked why she wouldn't get it delivered from me. She says, I don't want to tip you. It was 8 cents. She didn't want to tip me. And my mother said, this is the most important thing I'm going to ever teach you. So sit down. First of all, Brandon, stop selling. You got to serve. You got to be a solution-based business person. You got to figure out how you can help people. You're selling the same thing that there's a million other people that sell the Daily News. What makes you different? Differentiate yourself. So I go back to the woman at 11 at night. I said, she's like flipping out, 11 o'clock. I said, if there's a snowstorm, sleet, rain, heat wave, what are you going to do? How are you going to get the paper? I'm going to bring that paper at 7:30, rain or shine. And she's an older woman. She's like, wow. And I'll bring you milk and bagels on Wednesday and Sunday. You need anything else, I'll get it for you. She ended up being the mayor of the neighborhood. I went from 29 dailies to 239 dailies and blew it up, 2 boxes of candy bars. Now, how that story I hope relates to people listening is, first of all, if you want to be an entrepreneur, first thing you got to start doing is listening to your customer and trying to figure out how you can serve them. So again, if you want to have an entrepreneuristic attitude, you don't have to be born with it. That's bullshit. What you need to do is your ears need to get big, your eyes need to get big, because you need to hear and radically see what people are thinking, feeling, and seeing. And you have to have the kind of empathy and compassion to understand what people need, not about what you want and what you need. So if you want to be a great entrepreneur, empathy is putting yourself in a common person's shoes. So that's why I say increase your common sense. Your ability to do that is by looking at somebody else in the eye and figure out what they need, what a common person's looking for. That's where the white space is. So if you are a great listener and you're somebody who can get outside yourself and externally get involved with other people's thoughts, feelings, emotions, and then attack what those thoughts, feelings, emotions are by developing a service or a product, boom, that's the wow moment. I delivered something that you needed, that made you feel better, that made your life better. That's true entrepreneurship, to find something to make somebody happier, to make a product they already exist, but making it better. Remember, fix what's broken. Take what's already going well, but you can do it better. Now, the 3 core competencies of entrepreneurism is not that complicated. One, you must understand the market. People want to come up with this great idea, yes, but you have to understand the market that product exists in, and you have to become an expert at it. You got to read everything. You got to know everything. If you're in the brokerage business, you're a real estate person, you're an accountant, you got to know everything there is about that. You got to have the basics covered. That's important. Number two, you have to have a stomach and a mindset to deal with risk. And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs, in all fairness, get off track and really aren't comfortable with it. And I say to all of you, it's okay. That risk part is really the differentiator of why a lot of people don't go down that road. And I understand it. You got to be able to get up to the table, put your marbles on a number, and not know where that's going to go. And it is risky because as an entrepreneur, you're going to fail. And as you get bigger and do more successful things, the failure gets bigger. And then the third thing, again, you can do, which is leadership. Can you sell something in that doesn't exist, that nobody really even can see or understand? Even when you think I went home and said to my wife, honey, I'm going to go get a bunch of baseball signed and sell them. She's like, you're freaking crazy. Like, you're going to support this family on somebody who's going to buy a baseball with ink on it. How? You're booking players to go to appearances and people show up at these stores and wait online to get an autograph. Yes. I never heard of such a thing. I think I could do it on a large scale. That's insane. And I get it. My wife wasn't a sports fan. She didn't see it. She didn't believe it. She didn't understand it. So a lot of times as an entrepreneur, you're going to come up with an idea and you got to be able to have the kind of thick skin and the kind of grit that can drive a product that nobody else sees through, because because your empathy and ability to have compassion, that people need it. They need it even though they don't even know they need it. So, and that's where the dreaming comes in. Sample small, fail quick, because some of those dreams that you have just suck. Some of them aren't going to work. And that's where you kind of have to differentiate. And that's where the risk comes in. So remember, be great at what you do, get the foundation and fundamentals done, realize there's going to be risk, be prepared for the risk and have the stomach for it. And also remember, you got to make a sale. And if you can't, you got to have at least a partner that can do the selling aspect to make that sale. And sometimes great entrepreneurships come in packages of two.
Well, what amazing advice your mom gave you at 12 years old. Like, hey, tough that this one woman didn't say, I'm going to tip you the 8 cents. Come up with a creative solution. Unbelievable. All right.
My mother's favorite line back then was, if you want to fill yourself, forget yourself. And I think that's like the underlying theme of entrepreneurs. I'm like, stop worrying about what you want and what you got to sell and start thinking about what people need and start thinking about what people are thinking or what they probably need that they don't even know. And that comes from having consummate knowledge of a product and knowing that if you did this, this, and this to the product, it would be that much better. And that person would be a home run.
Yeah.
By the way, watch my TED Talk. Go on YouTube, TED Talk, Brandon Steiner, Syracuse. And I talk about the highest level of entrepreneurs that I ever did. And I break it down into the whole mindset of how a simple cube, how I took a cube like this with a baseball in it that sold for $5 and it cost me 60 cents and turned it into a $40 item that cost me less than $10. And people were begging me for them and were thanking me for them. It's a great story. I don't want to kill our time on it, but it's a great, easy watch, 16 minutes long, and you'll get a lot out of it.
Yeah,
Gratitude,
absolutely.
growth. Yeah.
We're going to get everybody to go watch it. I have not seen it. I'm excited to watch it now. I have to ask you, I'm a huge sports fan, and you've mentioned Messier, you've mentioned Jeter. I mean, you've been around high level Hall of Famers, legends. What's your favorite, if you can, piece of sports memorabilia or sports story? A lot of the audience listening, they're sports guys and gals as well. What's your favorite, Brandon, if you can think of, like, man, I just cherish this item or this experience that I had?
Well, I mean, there's so many. I've created so many. First, I'm a real creative side where I've created a lot of memorabilia by replicating and duplicating things I saw and doing limited editions of them. But I was at Tampa Stadium, spring training, one of my great experiences. I'm watching the spring training game. And I was supposed to meet Mariano there after the game. It's the 5th inning, and all of a sudden, Mariano comes and sits down next to me. Now, I'm not going to lie. That was like, especially at that time, I've had a great relationship with Mariano over the last 20 years, but at that time it was early in our relationship, and he had some success. So I'm like, it's unbelievable. Because I think it's amazing. Anytime you can watch a professional game with somebody who's a professional, they break it down like no one else. So now I'm sitting next to Mary and I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "What do you mean? We're meeting. We got something we got to do after the game." I said, "Yeah, but it was after the game. Aren't you pitching?" He goes, "I just pitched the last inning. You didn't see us." I thought that was you. That was 1, 2, 3, Brandon. I'm like, but it was a spring training game. No big deal. We're in Tampa. He goes, "Brandon, that's not true. I asked Joe to put me in early so we could leave early, and he did. And when I go on the mound, I never differentiate. Spring training game is the same as game 7, 9th inning. It doesn't matter. I don't change my mindset or anything I do. Anytime I walk on a mound, when I'm practicing, spring training, whatever. I got on that mound, it was like game 7 World Series, the game on the line. There's no such thing as a big game. It was an incredibly valuable lesson for me because how many times do you say, "Oh, I got a big meeting today"? Well, what are you saying about all the other meetings? And I think consistency over time is what gives you credibility. You don't want to go get operated on and the doctor not think that your operation is a big operation. He needs to know that every operation is the biggest operation of his life, and that's what you would expect. And the great doctors, the great surgeons, the ones you sought after to operate on you, that's a big part of the difference between them and the other surgeons, is that there is no gap between their best surgery and worst, which is what made Mariano so great. There was no gap between his best outing and his worst. It was always 150% focus, the same delivery, the same mindset, the same preparation. And it was one of my great experiences to sit there, watch a couple innings with him, but also to realize, like, Brandon, there's no such thing as a big meeting, big sale. You call me up tomorrow, I want to buy a $10 item, I treat you the same as if it was 10 million. I try to give every situation the same level of focus and concentration, which is what makes you into the ultimate pro. And doing those kinds of things is stuff you can control. And it makes a difference. When you walk in a restaurant, that waiter is just unbelievable. Spectacles, you should try this, do that. They're right on top of it. They're pulling your plates right away. They're recommending the right desserts. They're checking on your water. They're bringing you extra cocktails. It's a server, but it means something. It moves you because that's a pro. And that's what really moves me. When I'm with somebody that's a real pro, you could tell, because they don't even know who I am, and they're doing what they do on a high level. And you could see there's no difference. I love that. And that was a great lesson for me and a great experience.
That's amazing. And anybody that doesn't know, arguably the greatest closer to ever live says this spring training game is the same as pitching at the absolute highest level, game 7 of World Series. Unbelievable. Brandon, I literally could talk to you for hours. The amount of one-liners I've written down is unbelievable. And not cheesy one-liners. I mean, profound, like, holy shit, man, that makes a ton of sense.
Thank you.
Is there
Thank
anything?
you for saying that.
Oh, it's true. It's true, brother. Is there anything I didn't know enough to ask you that you want to end off with as we wrap up today?
Well, first, gratitude. Thank you for having me. And I hope this was helpful. I've written 3 books, and, to your audience, please go to collectibleexchange.com. You can pick up the book for free. Just pay for the shipping. I think you'll love any of the 3 books without getting too into it. They're all a little bit unique and different, but they're helpful if you're an entrepreneur or a salesperson, or especially the first book, The Business Playbook, if you're just getting started out. It gives you all the keys that are, I think that all my books, you don't read and say, "I wonder how he did that." You read it and say, "That guy's not that smart." I can't believe people have walked up and go, "Brandon, I read your book. You ain't that smart." I mean, almost anybody can do that. I'm like, exactly. Thank you. So, follow me on LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn guy. I put a lot of content up that's free. Happy to share it. I'm on all the socials, but, I'm a big LinkedIn guy. I post a lot on Facebook, a lot of different things. And remember, my company, if you have stuff you want to sell, I'll turn your cloth into cash. We have one of the biggest collectible marketplaces, kind of like a form of eBay. I think it's like 200,000 items on there already and growing. So if you have collectibles you want to buy, or more importantly, if you want to just sell or figure out what you have, we help you evaluate your stuff and make it easy for you, because sometimes stuff's been left for you, that kind of thing. And we can help you evaluate, authenticate, and verify. But it's been great talking with you. I always get fired up. I just think this mental mindset stuff, a lot of times people don't realize, but it is the game. And it is the way, it is the block sometimes between you being really, really good and great or unbelievably and incredibly successful. It's just turning that trigger on with your mind and gratitude and growth.
Brandon, unbelievable. Thank you for coming on, Sharon. I love getting fired up, man. And you absolutely raised the level for me. And the whole lesson of this meeting is it doesn't matter. Every meeting, treat them the same. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys, I told you, happy, healthy, wealthy. Did we not nail all of those? I'm going to have to go back and listen to this to really give you a proper description of what an amazing episode this was. That was so much brilliance. I hope you guys share this. Literally, I could ask him about sports all day. I couldn't because I was absolutely fixated with his leadership, with his life lessons, entrepreneurship. I mean, this was awesome. Share this with someone you love because they will get a ton out of it. Until next time, remember your mindset matters. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.